Welcome back to RPA and AI Masterclass. In this class, we will learn what are the different types of RPA bot. So let's get started. By end of the session, you will have a very fair understanding about what is the difference between attended versus unattended bot, what are the different industry-wide use cases and where to apply attended versus unattended bot, and last but not the least, you will have a fair bit of idea what are the typical strategy for attended and unattended bot. So let's get started and understand the different types of bots available into RPA space. So the one type of bot is called attended bot. The other type of bot is called unattended bot. So guys, these are the two different kinds of bots available into RPA, and whenever you build any bot, whenever you are going to train or configure any bot, you have to think deeply, really I'm building an attended bot or an unattended bot. So let's understand what is attended bot. So attended work along with the human being collaboratively in order to improve the human efficiency on the same desk. So typically the attended bots are being triggered by the human because it works along with the human on the same laptop or on the same desktop. However, the unattended bot works without any human intervention remotely in virtual environment in order to automate the more and more complex processes. Along with this, unattended bot has the capability to run remotely, get monitored, configured, and as well as use the queue mechanism in order to scale the processes. So whenever you have a very complex process, you want to run remotely without any human intervention, unattended bot is a good choice over there. So now let's understand where attended bots are applicable. So number one is front office or the call center. So understand here the biggest challenge in front office or the call center that whenever customer calls, the executives used to hold the call for a couple of minutes in order to extract the information from the multiple systems or validate the data or do reconciliation in order to complete the transaction. So whenever you come across any such kind of use case like customer information extraction, account updates, sales and the business development updates, exception clearance reporting, document approval, or on-demand data processing, it's a good use case to apply attended bot in order to improve the help desk executives, all the call center executives to improve their productivity or efficiency. So bottom line is that the attended bot works along with the human agent on the same workstation or on the same laptop. Let's understand about the back office or the unattended bot. So unattended bots are being used either in the back office or wherever you have desire to have a zero touch automation. So let's understand. So essentially mean that in unattended bot, whether it's a back office or zero touch automation, we do not need to have any human intervention. For example, email monitoring. Wherever we have the to and fro email coming and going, probably it's a good use case to apply unattended bot. Daily data sync up, invoice processing, where we want to process invoice without having any human intervention, and reporting. This is one of the area where we can deploy unattended bot without any human intervention. Now let's understand the zero touch automation. Hire to retire is an HR use case where uh, we can build up a pipeline or automation pipeline where everything will happen automatically without having any human intervention. Procure to pay is a good candidate where we can apply unattended bot, order to receive, and last but not the least into supply chain management, inventory management is a good candidate for unattended bot. So bottom line is that in back office operation, or you wanted to build a zero touch automation where we do not want to have any human intervention and bot can be monitored, or configured or scheduled by orchestrator, then it's a good candidate to go for unattended bot. Now, let's have a deep dive front office use case, how this happens in today's context. So let's assume a situation that customer calls to the front office or call center, and then after receiving the call, the front office executives either access the different set of documents or it access the enterprise application. It could be SAP or Salesforce or mainframe, any kind of these systems, in order to retrieve the data, in order to complete and talk to the customer. And this process typically takes 1 to 3 minutes of time, and trust me, this is very crude and time consuming process. So now let's reimagine the process to be process. Why not we should be building an attended bot and let the front office executive trigger the bot while customer is on the call. The bot can go and extract the information either from the document or maybe the enterprise application like Salesforce, SAP or mainframe, and then it will notify to the front office executive that yes, this record is being retrieved. And this process, instead of 1 to 3 minutes, this can be done just within 30 to 45 seconds. So essentially mean that this an unattended bot is actually improving the agent's productivity and the time that is being saved. The agents can focus more and much on customer conversation. Let's understand deeply for one quick use case for back office, that is unattended bot. So let's assume that we have either procure to pay or invoice processing or KY processing or bill processing, wherein at this moment the human agents are monitoring the emails, extracting the information either from PO, from invoice, from KYC or from the bills, and then pushing all this data either into different enterprises applications. It could be SAP, Salesforce, anything where the data entry happens. So it's a very good candidate for an unattended bot to build, deploy, and reimagine the process. So let's reimagine this process. In this case, a bot, unattended bot, can be built up and deployed at the email monitoring, at the document extraction, and then pushing the data into the SAP or any enterprises applications, and only it will notify to the human agent when there is an exception or there is an issue. Otherwise it should be purely 100% automated in the backend and no human intervention required. Isn't it exciting? Yes, absolutely, it's exciting, but it makes sense that when you will make a choice when to apply attended bot and when to apply unattended bot. So in this case, whenever you want to improve the productivity of an individual front office executive or anybody, or you want to build an assistant who will work along with side of the human being, then it's a good use case to apply an attended bot. But when you want to free the human bandwidth, the FT bandwidth, you wanted to scale the operation and build the zero touch automation, then unattended bot is a good candidate. But I encourage you to create a hybrid model and focus more and more on unattended bot, because unattended bot, it's a scalable model that helps to free the FT bandwidth, and it runs in the backend and in the server in the virtual environment in order to automate more and more complex processes. So hybrid model is a good model, but at the same time, I encourage you to focus more and more on unattended bot. So this is all from today's session. I'll encourage you to think about it. What are the different use cases in your business context and where an attended or an unattended bot is applicable? Think about it and then come back to us for conversation. Thanks a lot.